pulling out of the Black Sea Grain Initiative and then starting to bomb the export facilities infrastructure in Ukraine on several consecutive nights. And we saw a lot of risk premium put into the market, but that's what it was. It was risk premium. We have no imminent shortage of corn and wheat today. It was all about what the bombing may lead to in the future as far as potential future shortages. So with a couple of nights of no activity, suddenly the bull's not being fed, and we're seeing that risk premium come back out to reflect the current fundamentals, which we are very much adequately supplied near term of corn and wheat. So that's why we're seeing that risk premium disappear there, whereas soybeans kind of holds on because it has its own tight fundamentals.
All right, we appreciate it. Arlen Suderman with StoneX joining us here with some market analysis on this Wednesday. In the livestock trade, cattle futures moving higher, taking advantage of corn breaking lower. Some triple-digit gains in the feeder cattle trade. Hogs under some moderate pressure here. Yesterday's cold storage report fairly neutral to the market. Crude oil down 76 cents a barrel, 78.87. The Dow Jones is up 30 points. This is the American Ag Network. I'm Jesse Allen reporting.
This is WDAY Radio, AM 970 and FM 93.1 WDAY and K226CL, Fargo, Moorhead, West Fargo. WDAY Radio interrupts your regular programming for this breaking news update.
Time now, 12:51. I'm Tom Tucker. Thanks so much for joining us here at WDAY, AM 970, FM 93.1. I'd like to also welcome in our audience on our sister station, The Flag, AM 1100, FM 92.3. Joining us for our live coverage for the public memorial taking place here at the top of the hour for a fallen Fargo Police Officer Jake Wallin. Right now, we're going to go live to that location where WDAY News reporter Ty Schoenert is standing by to give us an update on the events and the happenings as we near the top of the hour. Ty, I understand already a very large crowd is gathered there at your location.
Correct. A very large crowd has gathered here. Now, there are seats open, but that does not mean it's empty by any means. There are certainly, I would say, hundreds of people have gathered here, and I would say maybe even low thousands have shown up today at the Scheels Arena to honor the life of fallen police officer Jake Wallin. If you were in the room right now, you'd also hear string instruments as it is a procession, and we have people on the main stage right now, 3 individuals playing solemn music in a funeral-like manner. We also spoke with multiple individuals off the record in various ways, but there are people who have joined us here today. We have John Strand from Fargo City Commission for sure. Multiple state representatives have also joined us in our brief conversations and have entered the facility. We also know that Fargo Mayor Tim Mahoney is here. He will be speaking today. We have spoken with multiple individuals on that line. Also, if you go to our website and our social media pages, so for example, WDAYRadioNow.com, or if you go to our 970 WDAY Radio on our Facebook page, there you can see the procession going through and into the Scheels Arena as it just entered. And there are dozens of police vehicles, motorcycles, police motorcades, also multiple buses. This is filled with VIPs, people who are important to the Wallin family or various other individuals who are going to be joining us in the funeral, in the celebration of life today. Now, in terms of, it's quite a somber event. There is still some chatter, but it is nowhere near loud crowds or anything along those lines. People idle chat in this stadium here right now. Tom, it sounds like there's a lot of people still arriving in the final moments leading up to the 1 o'clock celebration of life, but there's still a lot to get to in that celebration too, Tom.
Ty, we understand also that security is very tight. Law enforcement officers from different agencies providing security today in advance. The public was notified they weren't going to be allowed to bring bags in of any sort, and all the public was directed only to the main entrance there at Scheels Arena. What are you seeing in terms of security right now in that overall effort?
Well, security is quite high. Lots of coverage from regional officers themselves, but also from various other officials. We are seeing Fargo Police Department out in droves, but also I've seen multiple sheriff's individuals or sheriff deputies. I have seen North Dakota Highway Patrol entering and guiding people to the parking lots here. And you walk around a corner in this building, and you're going to see some kind of officer or law enforcement official or someone who is skilled in that field. There are hundreds of those kinds of officials here. And looking across the stage now, or stadium now, I can see dozens of law enforcement officials. It sounds like the Celebration of Life event is beginning to start soon, Tom. So I'll begin leaving in a moment here.
Okay, and briefly here, and in closing, I can hear some of the audio behind you. Is someone at the podium right now speaking at this point, Ty?
I'll walk to the podium now, but I do not see them currently.
Okay.
It sounds like the color guard is walking into the room at this point in time, Tom.
Okay. We also have been informed here. We have the program in front of us for the events here this afternoon. Again, all this begins here in a matter of moments at 1 o'clock. But a number of high-profile speakers and dignitaries, the Master of Ceremonies serving for the event today is former U.S. Senator Heidi Heitkamp. Also speaking will be North Dakota Governor Doug Burgum and North Dakota Attorney General Drew Wrigley. And Jake Wallin's father, Jeff Wallin, will be speaking as well. Right now on the live stream, we are looking at members of the Fargo Moorhead Symphony Orchestra preparing to play a piece. They are stringed instruments. We also see a photo of Jake Wallin front and center there on the altar, a photo of his badge, and also the Fargo Police Department patch. And people still being seated at this point. Ty, did you have something you wanted to say?
That sound you heard was a 5-minute warning. The color guard is not quite in the room yet. I was hearing multiple footsteps. It's not color guard. But there is a 5-minute warning now in terms of the program actually beginning to start. People are beginning to find their seats. The chatter has mostly gone really quiet at this point in time, and string instruments are beginning to play rather I would say loudly in comparison to where they were before. They are the main centerpiece at this point in time, and people are largely watching the officers and people in the room, all of them staring into the center where most of the public is in the ring surrounding the center of the arena. The arena itself has multiple empty chairs. I imagine they will be filled by local responding agencies as the actual celebration of life begins. But more details on that to come, especially with our live coverage, Tom.
You attended the funeral service at Pequot Lakes High School last Saturday. How does what you see so far compare to that event this past Saturday?
I unfortunately wasn't at the funeral, but I did cover it. When it comes to this procession, as of now, the amount of empty chairs that I currently see are very similar in size to the amount of chairs that were completely filled by responding members of law enforcement or close colleagues of Jake Wallin. And so it looks like, if I had to make an estimated guess, those chairs will be filled as the celebration of life continues into this.
All right, right now on the live stream, we can see North Dakota Governor Doug Burgum speaking with Attorney General Drew Wrigley, the governor's wife, the First Lady. But we also see there in the picture Fargo Mayor Tim Mahoney. They are standing up near the stage. We also see U.S. Attorney Max Schneider, who he and his office have been playing a key role in the investigation into this horrific officer-involved shooting that happened on July 14th. Mohammed Barakat, the man identified as the suspect who fired upon Fargo police officers, leading to the death of Officer Wallin and the injuries of one citizen and two other Fargo police officers. Certainly a horrific and tragic event in the history of the city of Fargo, and the public now turning out to pay their respects, to pay tribute to Officer Wallin and the entire law enforcement community. Ty, what are you seeing now from where you are at?
The crowd is completely silent. 2-minute warnings issued about a minute ago. I had very little time on the phone as you left, Tom, but the strings are now silent, and I will begin heading to my seat now in preparation for the ceremony.
Okay, and thank you for that. That's a WDAY News reporter Ty Schonert out at Scheels Arena, where this public memorial service is set to begin here just in a matter of moments. We see one of the communications officials for the city of Fargo asking our elected officials, state and local, to take their seats there in the front row as we prepare to get this service underway. Of course, Jake Wallin, survived by his parents, Jeff and Amy, his beloved brother, Brady, and he leaves behind a fiancée as well, Winter Malone. Jake, of course, having served in the Minnesota National Guard, was deployed in Iraq and Afghanistan prior to beginning his tenure with the Fargo Police Department. Officer Wallin had been serving as a police officer for only 3 months before he was shot and killed on 25th Street South. Again, we are watching a live stream of the event taking place at Scheels Arena now as we speak, waiting for this event to get underway. Again, Heidi Heitkamp, the former U.S. Senator, serving as the Master of Ceremonies. I presume we will be hearing from her in just a moment. And then we will have the presentation of colors after the opening here, and an opening prayer offered by Fargo Police Department Chaplain Pastor David Juve. And the music we are listening to right now appears to be a quartet from the Fargo Moorhead Symphony Orchestra playing on stage now during the procession at the start of this public memorial service for Jake Wallin. We see the photo of Jake here, center stage on our live stream, and the slogan above his photo reading, "We are Fargo PD." That is a slogan that Mayor Tim Mahoney shared with us during one of the recent press conferences, asking the community, asking citizens, the city staff, law enforcement, all of us to adopt that phrase, that slogan, as a way to support our law enforcement, especially the men and women of the Fargo Police Department. And next on the agenda is the presentation of the colors, handled by the West Fargo Honor Guard. Representatives involved from various agencies. It looks as though state troopers are part of this Honor Guard presentation, West Fargo firefighters, and other members of law enforcement filing in a very somber fashion to get this memorial underway. Jake Wallin was born November 23rd, 1999 in South Carolina, and he grew up in St. Michael, Minnesota, and graduated from St. Michael Albertville High School, and then attended Alexandria Technical and Community College, where he received his law enforcement training. He also attended the American Military University, and as mentioned, served in the Minnesota National Guard and was deployed to Afghanistan and Iraq before returning to the United States to make his home in Fargo, and he became a Fargo police officer in April of 2023, and as we all know, was on duty at the time of his death. We've heard so frequently from those who knew and loved Jake that he wanted to live a life of purpose, where what he did meant something at the end of each day. Those who knew him and loved him say his was a life of service, not only to his country, but to his community as well, and that he was dedicated and loved dearly his friends, his family, his fiancée, and his dog Thor. Family members and friends now being escorted into the Scheels Arena, flanked by law enforcement on both sides, walking quietly into the Scheels Arena. And as they enter, those in the seats stand in deference and respect. The procession continues, and the seats are starting to fill at 1:06 here on this Wednesday afternoon. You're listening to our live and continuing coverage of the memorial service for fallen Fargo Police Officer Jake Wallin on both WDAY AM 970, FM 93.1, also simulcasting on the Flag AM 1100, FM 92.3. A very detailed agenda, a very detailed schedule for everything that will be taking place here this afternoon. One estimate we heard is that the service could run approximately an hour and 20 minutes. That would take us up to about 2:20. But a very detailed agenda for what we will be seeing and hearing here this afternoon. And the presentation of colors, and the opening prayer coming up shortly by Fargo Police Department Chaplain Pastor David Juve. A video presentation highlighting Jake's call to service, and then a number of speakers slated to come to the podium, starting with the Fargo Police Chief Dave Zabolski, and then North Dakota Governor Doug Burgum, Fargo Mayor Tim Mahoney, and then a musical performance by the group Slamabama. They will be performing the song Take Me Home, Country Roads. Following that, we will hear from North Dakota Attorney General Drew Wrigley, then Jake's father, Jeff Wallin, and then additional video presentations by fellow police officers from the Fargo Police Department. And then finally, closing remarks this afternoon will come from former U.S. Senator Heidi Heitkamp. The procession continues. People continue to file into their seats in total silence as we get this ceremony underway. As you can see here in this particular shot, law enforcement officers from the Cass County Sheriff's Department and local police agencies and several other state police agencies represented as well, standing quietly and solemnly in a show of solidarity and support for their fallen brother, their fallen colleague. All of this happening now as fellow officers Tyler Hawes and Andrew Dotis continue their recovery at Sanford. They are the two officers critically injured in this horrific shooting incident on July 14th on 25th Street South. Presumably they are watching as well, and no doubt wishing they could be there in person to support their brother and their fellow colleague. The news is that both of those officers continue in their recovery. In fact, Officer Tyler Hawes recently remarked that he is anxious to get back to serving the community. Looking at a close-up shot now of our elected officials, Governor Burgum, Attorney General Wrigley, and Fargo Mayor Tim Mahoney standing there in the front row as the the procession continues. So many people in the community have rightly expressed their sadness, their anger, their frustration over the events that occurred on July 14th. Many questions still left unanswered as the Bureau of Criminal Investigation and the FBI and other federal agencies continue to investigate this horrific tragedy. The latest information that we have from Attorney General Wrigley and federal officials is that to this point they have not yet been able to determine a motive, at least anything that they've talked about publicly. They say they haven't been able to determine a clear motive, as they put it in recent statements made to the public and made to the press as well. See the American flag prominently displayed behind the main stage. Jake R. Wallin, a celebration of life, reads the screen directly below the U.S. flag. Again, the procession continues, people filing into their seats, loved ones, friends, family members, community representatives, all gathering to pay tribute to this 23-year-old who, again, had been on the job as a police officer for 3 months. This was something that we are told Jake had wanted to do his entire life, is to serve as a police officer, and he certainly fulfilled that wish and is now being honored and remembered for his incredible sacrifice. It's remarkable to hear how quiet it is in Scheels Arena with as many people that are there. No discernible sounds of anyone speaking. Movement is at a minimum as people continue to file into their seats. And we are experiencing a little bit of a challenge here, a little bit of a technical difficulty with the live feed. It appears to be coming in and out a little bit. So our apologies for that. Not quite sure what is contributing to the interference there, but hopefully we can continue to maintain this live stream for you. Here in the foreground of the picture there, you see the back of the head of Fargo City Commissioner Dave Pepcorn. I believe that is Commissioner Pepcorn there with the glasses on, just to the lower left center of the image that we're looking at now on the live stream. Of course, the Fargo City Commissioners, among those speaking out on what has transpired in the city. All the commissioners that we have spoken to, deeply saddened, outraged, angered, and disappointed by what has happened, but at the same time expressing their unending support for the Fargo Police Department and all the sacrifices made by the men and women, the rank and file, and the leadership of the department that has been on display now in the days since this horrific shooting. The procession continues with the honor guard in place, lining the main aisle at Scheels Arena. Our reporter Ty Schoner told us a moment ago that it appears as though the count of people there inside the arena at this point is hundreds of people, possibly thousands, and we anticipate a great number of people also listening to this broadcast and following along, watching the live stream online. Here we see a close-up of fire crews, first responders, the fire crews for the city of Fargo also playing a critical and key role in responding to the shooting incident on 25th Street South. Many of them, no doubt, impacted and traumatized by what they saw
on behalf of the Wallin
at that
family,
location.
Winter Malone, the Fargo Police Department, and the city of Fargo, we appreciate your presence as we honor the life of Jake Ryan.
First, I want to express our gratitude today and all of the people who are watching, the thousands across the region. Every day in the United States of America, hundreds of thousands of good men and women put on a uniform knowing that it is their do this naive. They do not do this not understanding the risks, but yet they do it for their community, for their state, and for their country. It is experienced by a community that cares tragically about their law enforcement. Some of them do not return home. And that community that today as a community, this sacrifice. We wish to express our sincere sympathy to the Wallin family for their sacrifice. But we want you to know you do not mourn alone. You mourn with all of us. So at this time, I would ask each of you to stand for the presentation of the colors. Please remain standing until the color guard and the national anthem is played. We'll never forget this sacrifice, a community that will always remember with great gratitude the sacrifice of your family. Today, we want you to know you do not mourn alone. You mourn with all of us. So at this time, I would ask each of you to stand for the presentation of the colors. Please remain standing until the color guard and the national anthem is played. Please be seated. Officer Jake Ryan Wallin was born on November 23, 1999, in South Carolina. The son of Jeff and Amy Wallin, Jake grew up in St. Michael and graduated from St. Michael Albertville High School and Alexandria Technical Community College. He attended the American Military University. He served in the Minnesota National Guard and was deployed to Afghanistan and Iraq before returning stateside to make his home in Fargo, North Dakota. He became a Fargo police officer in April of 2023. He died tragically in the line of duty on July 14th, 2023. Today, we are here to honor Jake, to honor his passion for serving others, and to celebrate his life. On this day, Jake's family and the Fargo Police Department hope you will find more about the man than just the badge. A son, a brother, a fiance, and a special friend, Thor, who's here with us today, and a friend. Today we celebrate Jake's life, but before we do that, we want you to hear directly from Jake in his own words. But before we do that, we have to invite the pastor up to say a prayer. To help us do that, Pastor Juvie, would you please come up? Pastor Juvie serves as the chaplain at the Fargo Helam Health Center and Assisted Living in Fargo. He is the Vice President of Spiritual Life for the broader community. He has over 30 years of ministerial experience, and he has worked in his role as the Fargo Police Department chaplain. He plays an important role for all members of the Fargo Police Department team. We want now to hear his kind words.
Psalm 91 says, "He who dwells in the secret place of the Most High shall abide under the shadow of the Almighty. And I will say of the Lord, He is my refuge, in whom I will trust." Please join me in prayer this afternoon. Your name and humbly acknowledge our need for you in all circumstances of life, and especially in this gathering as we remember the life and service of Officer Jake Wallin. Your word says in Psalm 23 that even though we walk through the valley of the shadow of death, we don't need to fear evil, for you are with us. And we trust that somehow you will bring comfort to our souls. And as we have acknowledged you as the good and gracious God, if we're honest, it challenges us to understand your goodness at moments like these. May we draw those nuggets of goodness as the stories of Officer Wallin's life are shared today. For we believe that surely goodness and mercy will follow us all the days of our life, and we will dwell in the house of the Lord forever. Thank you that in the midst of difficulty, sorrow, and pain, we can find comfort in a gathering like this. And in the midst of our grief, we are thankful to have a community that loves and supports those who willingly stand in harm's way to protect the lives of those within their communities. And as we have gathered to honor and reflect on the heroic life of Officer Jake Wallin, we invite the comfort of the Holy Spirit and ask your blessing, Lord, on our gathering, and that this in some way will start the journey of healing with his family, his friends, his fellow officers, and this community. We pray this in the name of our Lord and Savior, Jesus Christ. Amen.
Today, as I said, we will celebrate Jake's life and Jake's accomplishments. But no one can tell the story more than Jake himself. And so today, if we can, in fact, see through a video that was produced by the Fargo Police Department with the full support of the Wallin family, was designed to show us that Jake always will be truly special. He was uniquely talented to do this job. It was his passion. So if we can see the video.
Throughout my entire life, I've always wanted to work in some sort of position that had purpose behind my job, and police officer is always what kind of came to me. I've tried other careers, but I came right back into law enforcement as the career path I wanted to go through. Hi, I'm Jake Wallin. I'm from St. Michael, Albertville, Minnesota, and I've been to more countries than I have been states. My desire to serve, it comes directly from the want to have purpose behind my job each and every day. I don't want to be sitting in an office wondering why I'm here every day. I want to be out. I want to be doing something that I can tell myself at the end of the day I made a difference somehow.
Chief David Zibolinski was selected and sworn into office as the 37th Chief of the Fargo Police Department on October 5th, 2022. As Chief of Police, Chief Zibolinski is responsible for providing leadership and direction to all police operations and service in the city of Fargo. He is the chief in Beloit, Wisconsin before coming to Fargo, and prior to that, he served 27 years in the Milwaukee Police Department. The chief is very active in the International Association of Chiefs of Police and serves in leadership positions within that organization on community boards. Please welcome Fargo Police Chief Zibolinski to the stage.
Good afternoon, everyone. Today, we as a department, a community, and a family gather to celebrate and honor the life of Fargo Police Officer Jake Wallin. We're so happy that his family, Jeff, Amy, Brady, and Winter, are here to join with us for that celebration today. Tyler Hawes, and Zach Robinson. I'm pleased to report that both Andrew and Tyler continue to be improved but are hospitalized. Please keep them in your thoughts and prayers. The purpose of this celebration was both for our department and Jake's family. We wanted to provide an opportunity for our community and others in the region to know more about Jake as a person, to celebrate his life, and pay respects for his ultimate sacrifice. When we look to hire new officers, we seek many qualities, but we focus on character and competence. Competence comes in a lot of different ways: good communication skills, physical fitness, mental resiliency. A large part of competence comes from the training that we receive and is built upon throughout the course of an officer's career. So we know that that piece, at the basic level, we can build upon. But we can't fix character if it's not already steadfastly fixed in the person. And Jake had impeccable character. He had a strong moral compass. In the words of the Attorney General, he is worthy for service. Found a $100 bill, returned it to the owner. And on another occasion, when one of the other drivers kind of slid into the other lane and caused an accident, that driver wasn't very forthcoming. Jake didn't ignore it. He didn't say he didn't see it. He reported it to his boss because he knew it was the right thing to do. And as a man with character, there can be no other way. While we grieve the loss of Jake, we also know that we need more Jakes in our department, in our community, and within our noble profession. The example that he set, one of his 3 big goals, will hopefully inspire other like-minded guardians to step forward in his honor. Other folks who want a job with meaning and purpose, to set an example, and to make a difference somehow. Our department is extremely proud of Jake and all of our heroes. His memory will serve as an inspiration for a generation of police officers, and we serve in his honor every day going forward, and we will always remember his service and sacrifice. I'm also extremely proud of our department team, who exemplified themselves in a variety of ways. Fargo, I want you to Recognize our many public safety partners who work side by side with our team under the most dangerous and stressful of situations. Thank you. And also a big thank you to our community again for this overwhelming support. Your presence here exemplifies and pays tribute to Jake's memory and Jake's service, and it serves as a source of great comfort and support for all of our personnel to know that we've got such great support in our community as we work every day to keep you safe. Earlier this morning, I also received an official statement from the United States Senate that was memorialized and framed. It was a statement on the Senate floor, furthered by Senator Klobuchar and supported by Senator Tina Smith of Minnesota, as well as our esteemed senators from North Dakota, John Hovind and Kevin Kramer. This official statement honored and memorialized Jake's actions on July 14th, while also sending condolences to his family. This statement is now part of the official congressional record in the 118th Congress on July 25th, 2023, and we were able to present that to the Wallin family earlier today. We will now hear from others who had the honor to know and work with Jake, as well as those closest to him. Jake's family, who is represented by his father, Jeff. Before we get to that, let's hear also from some of our other family members who could not be here today and are still recovering.
I moved up here 7 years ago to Fargo for a cop job. I was a young kid, didn't know much about anything other than being down in the Twin Cities. And I would say when I came up here, there was something very different about this community, and I could feel it right away. We had a couple weeks ago where you start to realize it's different up here, and everyone can feel it. That's the reason everyone stays through the cold, terrible winter. Note that I want them to hear is thank you. Thank you for all the little things, for all the little cards people have dropped off. Those things do matter, and we're going to keep being strong. Fargo Strong is something that we keep pushing towards, and I think it's not an end goal. It's something that we're going to just keep going and taking strides further for. So.
It's hard to put into words how grateful I am for all the prayers, all the thoughts, all the donations, everything that everyone has done to support, not only myself, but Officer Dotis, Officer Jake Wallin's family, Officer Robinson, and the entire Fargo Police Department. It's unbelievable that, that was part of the reason why I joined Fargo and why I joined, the police force, was to make that difference and see that change of, this is a cool job, what we do. It's fun some days, but, it's also it's a sacrificial job. We sacrifice a lot of our lives to go out and protect the community, and I love it every day. It makes me smile every day that I get to put the uniform on. But, to the community, I really do want to say thank you for everything that everybody has done for us.
He would always just come in and a positive attitude, and then we would do these fun facts at the end of briefing, and I could just tell he worked really hard with those fun facts to uplift the whole shift. And it might not seem like a big thing, but if you can uplift 12 officers going out on the street, it did have an impact, and it had an impact on me, let alone having an impact on the rest of the shift as well.
Jake was an honorable person in everything that he did. He loved with honor, he fought with honor, he gave a speeding ticket with honor. Whatever we did that day, both personally and professionally, he did it in an honorable way that should be respected and should be respected as long as his memory continues.
The thing that comes to mind the most is he only had 4 months on, but when he would walk up to someone, the attitude that he had, the positivity, you would never have guessed that he was a 4-month officer. And I think the biggest takeaway that I'm gonna get from Jake is that that's all it takes sometimes, you know, to connect with people. So it doesn't need to be a long, drawn-out conversation, but sometimes it's just cracking a little joke or checking up on them for a short period of time. And I think he was really, really good about that.
He was always there. Jake was a very reliable and a very loyal person, and I could always count on the fact that he had my back. You know, as a grown man, you're not supposed to have heroes, but Jake Wallin will forever be my hero. Thank you.
Thank you, Chief Zabolinski. I'll get it right. Zabalski. Governor Doug Burgum took office as the 33rd governor of North Dakota on December 15th, 2016. Doug's small-town upbringing and agricultural roots laid the foundation for his shared values of respect for the past, gratitude for the present, and inspiration for the future. I'm proud to welcome Governor Doug Burgum to the stage.
Thank you, Senator. Good afternoon. We gather here to pay tribute to Fargo Police Officer Jake Wallin, to celebrate his life not only as a peace officer, but also as a son, grandson, a brother, nephew, fiance, a soldier, and as you've just seen on the video, a member of this community and a hero to his fellow officers. There's only two groups of people in this room today. There's a lot in the first group, those that have sworn an oath to serve and protect. The other group, all the rest of us. The rest of us who are those fortunate citizens who can benefit from their courage and their commitment to fulfilling that duty. So today we gather not just only to pay our respects to our hero, Officer Wallin, but we gather in gratitude as a community and as a state. And on behalf of First Lady Catherine and Lieutenant Governor Miller and all North Dakotans, we share our deepest gratitude with the Fargo and the West Fargo Police, the Cass County and other sheriff's departments, the North Dakota Highway Patrol, BCI, tribal police, other state and federal law enforcement, all those officers that serve us, and today, those officers who've literally taken bullets to protect us and our family and our community. And in that group, we also include those we share gratitude to is to Officer Jack Robinson for his courageous actions and fulfillment of his duty to help protect his fellow officers and our community. You saw in the video, and I'm so appreciative of the Fargo Police Department that you make those videos during training and can capture the essence of the people in your department. But we saw from Jake that he lived to serve. He yearned to work with purpose, and he had a burning desire to make a difference. These guiding principles speak volumes to the kind of person he was. But at a young age, Officer Wallin already had his compass pointed at his personal true north. He knew he wanted to serve the greater good. Serving in the Iraq and Afghanistan, experiences like that will force life. And so it came to be that Officer Wallin was, after serving the Fargo Police Department, to serve in the same way, with honor and courage, and dedicating his life to protecting his fellow citizens and this community. Again, following his compass, living to serve, working with purpose, and making a difference. As everyone knows, the governor's greatest honor in any state is the honor and solemn duty of serving as the Commander-in-Chief of the North Dakota National Guard. And it's because of brave and dedicated soldiers like Officer Wallin that makes that an honor. He, of course, is serving in the Minnesota Guard, but 2 of the last 3 North Dakota police officers who've died by gunfire in the line of duty, Fargo Police Officer Jason Moser, who is also a Minnesota National Guard member, Grand Forks Police Officer Cody Holte, served in the North Dakota National Guard. Like his other fellow officers, he embodied the military values of duty, loyalty, respect, honor, and integrity. And like those 2 officers and Rolette County Sheriff's Deputy Colt Allery, Jake showed tremendous courage in the face of evil unleashed. As a thorough investigation has uncovered and as Attorney General Wrigley has shared, we now know that in those few precious seconds after the gunman opened fire, as Jake and his fellow 2 officers were taking incoming fire, Officer Wallin unholstered his weapon. He was a highly trained soldier and police officer, fighting to the very end to save others. Evil is hard to understand, hard for some of us to comprehend, and we may never fully understand the why behind this shocking and senseless act of violence. But we do know with certainty that the bullets taken by Officer Wallin and Officer Andrew Dotis, Officer Tyler Hawes, and citizen Carly Coswick, they were intended for something of much greater evil. It is perhaps with divine intervention that the shooter was distracted by this crash scene and tripping up his monstrous plan to inflict death and destruction upon this community. But ultimately, the one thing that often saves all of us is he tripped on that thin blue line, that line between chaos and order. And that day was the only thing that stood between him and unthinkable carnage. It's that thin blue line that we honor today. And we also honor those that are recovering. Andrew and Hannah, Tyler and Madison, know that the state of North Dakota that our prayers are with you. We know in both the fraternity of law enforcement and in the military that when an individual serves, they don't serve alone. Their whole family serves. And I know that the Dotis and the Hawes families are surrounded by families of care from law enforcement and the National Guard. And we're praying for your complete and full recovery. It's impossible, as we look back now, to know how many more people would have be more memorializing today if not for the sacrifice of Officer Wallin and his fellow officers and for the valiant acts of Officer Robinson. And we also need to say that fate truly conspired, because without the presence of the first responders and the Fargo Fire Department, ambulances that were on site, those people that were ready at a level 3 trauma center only minutes away, we could have been memorializing more today, and we are so grateful that we're not. But we do want to thank all those first responders and their quick action at the scene. Everyone here should know, and everyone listening, that North Dakota backs the blue. We throw our collective arms, not just with words, but with love and support. And ensure that tragedies like this don't happen again. We need to back up our words with our actions. In Officer Wallin, We saw the best, and you saw it on the video, a shining example of the millions of uniformed officers who go to work every day fully aware that they may not make it home. And we honor Jake and his brothers and sisters in law enforcement. We understand that the very freedoms and prosperity of our great country are built on those that help. We appreciate deeply that the law is enforced, our freedoms are defended, and those to run towards danger versus willing to run away from it. And it takes remarkable poise and courage to be one of those individuals to run towards that danger. And Officer Wallin was one of those. Etched in the granite as his hero. His service must not and will not be forgotten. Next May, when the solemn bell tolls during that annual Peace Officers Memorial Service, the 67th ring, and that's the 67th ring of the bell since statehood, will honor the memory of Officer Jake Wallin. And between now and every day in the future, we pray, and I hope that you'll pray with me, that memorial bell will never have to be rung a 68th time. But sadly, we know that that day may come, a day that may be shattered by a knock at the door of a spouse or parent regretting to inform that their loved one, their hero, the person who that represents all that is good, all that is just, all that is decent in this world, has made the ultimate sacrifice. The sacrifice to serve and protect all individuals, every member of our community, with dignity and respect. I want to thank Mayor Mahoney and Chief Zablinski and all the members of the Fargo PD and everyone who took the time to be here today, everything you've done in the last 10 days, 12 days to pay tribute to this fallen officer who made such a proud impact on his friends, his family, and our community during his oh too brief time on this earth. And on behalf of a grateful state and a grateful nation, we offer our deepest condolences and our eternal gratitude to Officer Wallin's family, parents Jeff and Amy, brother Brady, fiance Winter, friends and colleagues, and especially all those friends who are in uniform here today. Live to serve? Check. Work with purpose? Check. Make a difference? Take the biggest check mark you can find and put it by Jake Wallin's name. The difference he made, we will never understand, but we do know that all of these individuals are heroes. Let us carry Jake's words of wisdom in our own hearts and never forget his legacy of service and his ultimate sacrifice. And I want to challenge everybody here today. And I'm challenging everybody who's not in uniform. When you see an officer, thank them for their service. Jake got thanked for his service during the short time he was an officer here. But I'm guessing there's somebody that walked past him and thought about saying it and didn't. Don't miss that opportunity, citizens. I want everybody in our state, every time you see someone in uniform, thank them. Because you don't know if you may get that chance to do that down the road. We must always remember, and this is one way we can remember, by thanking those that wear the badge. And today, we celebrate and thank you, Officer Jake Wallin. Thank you.
Thank you, Governor Burgum. Dr. Tim Mahoney was elected mayor of Fargo in early 2015. He was re-elected mayor. Prior to that election, he served as a Fargo City Commissioner for 10 years, truly a public servant. He is the City Commissioner who oversees the Fargo Police Department within his portfolio of responsibility, and he is passionate about the safety of his law enforcement and the safety of his community. Please join me in welcoming Mayor Mahoney to the stage.
This is a tough one. Great speeches prior to me, and I thank you for thanking all our people and people who have made this possible. It's an honor to speak today because I wanted to speak out on many things that have happened in our community. I want to thank all our partners out there that have helped us out. West Fargo, Moorhead, Cass, Clay County, Highway Patrol. My son said, "What are all these strange uniforms in downtown Fargo, Dad?" And I said, "They're watching over you. They're watching so people can go honor Jake Wallin's funeral. It has to go to that and see that." We had a beautiful service at the Hoko Lakes. Sorry, I'm a little off on this. But we had all law enforcement come and honor Jake, and it was a beautiful ceremony. It was hard to be at graveside to see a mother say goodbye to her son. I think of all of us when we get in that position. And truly, we all grieved. Grieving right now because this action is something that woke us up of how fragile our society is at times. But we have people who want to serve. And I can remember the graduation of Jake Wallin just like yesterday. Jeff, you were having trouble getting that shield on. We always have a little trouble with that, right? We finally get it on there. Winter was touched. Should you give him a little kiss in public or not, or should we not do that? The family stood by him, and I, as mayor, sat there and wondered, why did this guy choose Fargo? Why did he want to come to Fargo and work with us? I mean, he could have stayed over in Minnesota and worked for the Guard and do other things, but he chose us, and he wanted to serve for us. And what I love about that story is he loved Fargo. There's something about us he really liked, and he wanted to be part of us. I could never be more proud of police force as we look at our graduates that come through there. And it's an honor for us to accept new graduates to come into our police force. Our community trains, brings people in, and we try to do everything for the welfare and goodness of our people that work for us. And truly, he was a great example. It's hard for me to convince the police sometimes to smile. It's hard for him to be that friendly face out there, but they're the face that protects us. But I love Jake's smile because it warmed you up, made you feel comfortable. And that's oftentimes what we try to teach our firemen, our policemen, our people in the streets, our public works people, all the City of Fargo employees. Be friendly, be nice, you're serving people. And Jake had the ultimate, he wanted to serve people. And there's nothing more glorious than that, is to serve us. Why we wanted you to come to town today, this is a celebration of life. Normally for the Irish, that means awake. So I got to try to keep it a little light. But you try to honor somebody and remember all the wonderful, beautiful things about him. I recently got a young dog and could never figure out, and Jeff maybe will tell us why Thor is the name of his dog. Because that's something in which, is a goddess or a god that's out there that protects us, but the dog looks a bit small. So just wondering about that. I could never be more proud of our community's reaction on that day of sorrow, of what everybody did and was trained to do. There's no question in my mind I would have had more fatalities if not everybody did what they were supposed to do. Some people ask me, Tim, is Fargo safe? I say, yes, Fargo is safe. Tim, is Fargo strong? Yes, Fargo is strong. But I think what Jake's going to teach us is we need to be Fargo united. Fargo united means all of us have to be part of what makes this community great. All of us have to work to make this community a place you can raise your children, be proud of, work in, and come home every night and say, God bless, I live in Fargo. It was really nice when Tyler said he came to work for us because he loved the attitude of our community. You're not going to put our community down because we know how to work together. We know how to work and play and do all the things we need to do together. And in honor of Jake Wallin, I want us to remember that the well-being of all of us is important. Jake took serious what he wanted to do for our community. He took serious his job, and he did a fantastic job. If you go in our community, you'll see a lot of blue lights. You'll see a lot of American flags. When I drove out to Pequot Lakes, I saw people lining it with flags and standing up. And you kind of sit there and wonder and say, this must be quite a guy. A lot of guys are standing up and trying to say to you, thank you. And let me tell you, we want to say thank you over and over and over again. I'm proud of all the love and respect that our community has given to police officers and firemen and all the people that serve us. I'm proud of our neighbors standing by us and helping us out as well. As we go through the trials and tribulations going on now, we as a community are going to make the difference. We as a community are going to make Fargo United a strong community that we're proud to be in and will continue to love and respect. As the governor states, you sometimes have to look to your neighbor like the neighbors used to do in Arthur. How do we help each other out? We help each other out by watching out for each other, by supporting our police, our firemen, people in public safety, and we help each other out by love and kindness. So, yes, I will celebrate Jake's life for a long time. He will always be our hero, and thank you for his time of service with us.
As we continue our journey today of celebrating the life of Jake, not only as a hero, but as a son, a fiance, and a treasured brother, treasured grandfather, or grandchild, we thought it would only be appropriate to spend some time listening to some of the music that Jake loved. And so we thought, what was that Jake loved? And we started getting the list thinking, pretty eclectic for a 23-year-old, pretty unusual for a 23-year-old. And so we thought it would be great to spend some time enjoying some of the music that Jake loved. So today, performing for us is Slamabama. This is a musical group that describes itself as uniquely perfect blend of country, rock, and pop. And to say that perfectly fit the man that we're honoring today, we're going to hear an acoustical version of John Denver's Take Me Home, Country Road.
First of all, there's a lot of talk going into what would be the right song today, and we communicate with the family. And one thing we thought would be great about this song when it was brought up is that everybody could sing along with it. From what I hear, Jake he loved to sing, he loved to dance.
And he loved 90s music.
Yeah.
And I hear there's a really great video of him rocking out to Man, I Feel Like a Woman somewhere. I'd really love to see that.
Yeah, we'd like to see that if we could later.
But we're not doing that today. We're gonna do that.
But he liked to sing, he loved country music. So after my new best friend Justin over there said this would be a great song to do, we said, okay, let's do that. If he were here, Jake would be singing along, so we're going to change it a little bit now. We're going to ask y'all to sing along with us if you know this song. Today, y'all can be his voice in this room because you're his community. All right. Almost heaven, West Virginia, Blue Ridge Mountains, Shenandoah River. Life is over there, older than the trees, younger than the mountains, blowing like the breeze. Country roads, take me home to the place I belong. West Virginia, Mountain Mama, take me home, country road. All my memories gather around her, miner's lady, stranger to blue water, dark and dusty, painted on the sky, misty taste of moonshine, teardrop in my eye. Country roads, take me home to the place I belong. West Virginia, Mountain Mama, take me home. Country road, I hear her voice in the morning hour. She calls me. Radio reminds me of my home far away. Driving down the road, I get a feeling that I should have been home yesterday. Yesterday, country roads, take me home to the place I belong. North Dakota, Mountain Mama, take me home, country road. All right, y'all. It's the point I'm talking about right here, all right? I want to hear everybody here in Fargo sing along on this tonight, today. We're used to playing at night. I want you to sing it where the angels in heaven can hear you sing it, because it's a beautiful song.
We'll get it started. We're going to let y'all finish it out, all right?
Here we go. Country road, come on, take me home. Sing about North Dakota. Take me home. Country road, one more time. Country roads, take me home to the place I belong. North Dakota, Mountain Mama, take me home. Country road, take me home. Down country road, take me home. Down country road. Thank you so much.
That was lovely. Thank you so much. In February of 2022, Drew Wrigley was appointed as North Dakota's 30th Attorney General, the best job in the history of North Dakota, by Governor Doug Burgum, to serve the remainder of the term after an unexpected death of Attorney General Wayne Stenghjem. Attorney General Wrigley, a fourth-generation North Dakotan, served as North Dakota's U.S. Attorney under two different presidents and has experience in the private sector as well. Please welcome Attorney General Drew Wrigley to the stage.
The thin blue line. Standing more like a mighty fortress at the moment, and always really. To the Wallin family, on behalf of Chief Deputy Attorney General for North Dakota Claire Ness, all the men and women of the Attorney General's office, including our BCI, who has been working around the clock since the minutes following gunfire breaking out on the 14th of July. And if I can, on behalf of the people of this region, it's my solemn privilege to stand before you today to share our prayers, to share our sadness, to share our hope for peace, and try our best to convey our profound thanks. Jeff, Amy, Brody, Winter, and all of Officer Jake Wallin's loved ones, thank you for sharing your beloved with us on the mission of our protection. Among the reasons for gathering here are the offering of prayers that God's peace will surround and hold the hearts of all who mourn Officer Jake Wallin, all who ache the circumstances of Officer Tyler Hawes, Officer Andrew Dotis, Officer Zach Robinson, Carly, one of our newest citizens. These officers and their families, especially to the Wallins, their sadness and goodbye. We share your sorrow and your pain and your loss. Across the years, my work in law enforcement has twice led me to the winding tree-lined roads to Pequot Lake, Minnesota. Each time, there to witness and share the heartbreaking, spirit-testing journey to lay a young soul to rest. Mr. and Mrs. Wallin, your family beautifully honored your son Jake last weekend in Pequot Lakes. The service spoke to his humanity as well as to his service to his states, to our region, and to the nation. All of those matter. His humanity and his service. That day as today, I looked out on the rows of uniforms, officers and law enforcement. You could feel it in the room, the reverence, the love, the honor, but also the questioning of the awful winds of fate. Why Jake? You could feel them asking, why not me? For us here, the community, the sworn peace officers, and others, how can we be sure to merit? Can we actually? Is there a way for us to merit the price that Jake paid? Officer Tyler Hawes paid. Officer Andrew Dotis paid. Carly paid. Officer Zach Robinson paid. The first responders who saved lives and paid. I spoke last week to the issue of Officer Robinson's use of deadly force in this incident. Summed up as best I can, he hewed his enemy down and he saved a great community that heroic day for a cause bigger than himself. To echo a favorite poem, even in his glory, he wouldn't call it that. He too paid a price, as did all who faced the enemy's fire and all who answered the clarion call to protect and to defend. Let's pray that these guardians find peace. Let's pray that they absorb what they were called to endure, and their loved ones are still called to endure, and to accept that forward is the only way, and to one day resume their calling. I've spent some time with these officers and their families in the last week, and across 30 years off and on in law enforcement, many law enforcement officers and family. I caution us all, as we look to the weeks and the months and the years ahead, note the efforts of these officers. Be aware of the sacrifice that they made. It will stand the test forever and always, and that's a long time. That endures. Share our awe. But then let them gently rejoin their lives. I've heard it a couple of times already. He would have done the same thing. She would have done the same thing. They would have done the same thing. On a given day, we're called in different ways. I've evaluated the evidence in this matter already to a granular level and can tell you they answered the call. I told them again today, I'm not trying to make you feel better. I'm not trying to make you believe even more in your brothers and sisters. This is a moment of sadness. It should also be a moment of strange community comfort. And the men and women who have made the step to take the oath and to pledge their efforts on our behalf. Someday, let them gently rejoin their lives of humble service. The life that was and is their call and their families. The thin blue line, the blue line was tested on July 14th here in the heart of the nation. Tested isn't the right word. It was attacked. It was an unprovoked and cowardly ambush in every way you look at it. No matter the camera angle, savage, murderous assault by a soulless and vicious enemy. Make no mistake, evil is real. In 30 years in and out of law enforcement, I have never met the assaulter. I have never met the attacker who's looking for a fair fight. Not one. Our officers that day were horribly outgunned because of the circumstances of what they were doing at the moment. They were responding to a fender bender. They were horribly outgunned. But to a person, mark my words, when you see these when you see these images, you'll know. They were never outmanned. And the men and women who responded immediately thereafter were never out-uniformed, out-serviced. Not for a moment. Our brothers and Carly took bullets that were intended to pave their way to destruction and murder in our community. And when the shots were quieted, this state, region, and nation knew that we had called a warrior to give his final breath for peace. We have laid to rest a warrior. And while I have spoken here of the peace that we pray, I will not sit down without proclaiming the war that we will bring and continue to bring in line with your oaths. On that, we'll talk another day. Look around this room. Look around this room. And the legions who love the people in this room and love the sacrifices that you're willing to make. The men and women in here with the black bands on their badges, we love you. Our hearts are heavy. Yet here you are with a commitment to rejoin the fight. To fight against the purveyors of violence in our communities. I was walking out of the hospital a few days ago. Officer Shelby Lehman, I'll bet she's here. If she's not in uniform, you'll think she's a Sunday school teacher when she comes walking in your direction. Mr. Wrigley, what are you trying to make me feel old? Shelby and I spent the next 15 minutes talking outside the hospital. You want to meet a warrior? You want to meet someone who's heartened? Not afraid. You want to meet somebody who stands with each and every one of you every time and who you'll always be able to count on? That was a God thing. I'm glad I ran into Shelby. It was yet another reminder. You come in all sizes. You come in all backgrounds. You've each got your story. You have a shared humanity. You have a shared commitment. You have a shared something special that the rest of us depend on. Right here in the heartland of the nation, North Dakota, the greatest state and the finest nation on the face of the earth. Will we be worthy? Officer Zach Robinson, when he came around the vehicle from the accident, after the shots had rang out, he had taken care of the first order of business: call in. Call in, because you don't know what's going to happen next. Without any idea, are there more shooters? Where are they positioned? He moved from behind that vehicle and engaged. He engaged a high-power scoped weapon with his service weapon at significant distance, at significant disadvantage. And when he got around the vehicle, in a couple of rounds that he told our BCI investigators, I was thinking, squeeze, don't pull. You need a couple of good ones. And he disabled the weapon, and he got first lead on a madman. He noticed that the officers, he had 3 officers down, he had a civilian down, and the call went out. And it was simple. Loneliest man on earth at that moment, Zach Robinson. Send everybody. Well, Zach, everybody is here. Everybody is here. That day, the response was remarkable. From our fire department, on scene, the emergency responders, who formed another wall around our fallen heroes. The line was tested. It did not fail. It was savaged. It was bloodied. There were citizen and soldier casualties. A soul was lost. Soul was not, a soul was not lost, actually. And a soul was not taken. Police Officer Jake Wallin gave his life. He sacrificed to preserve our freedom. Let's commit to be worthy. Me and you. Here they are. Every day on our behalf. That's our charge. And conclude with this. At the beautiful, painful funeral service in Pequot Lakes, we exited outside, and there came a time where Chief Zabolski and his leadership team, hats off. Hats off. Chief Zabolski came across the intercom system and a beautiful recitation, at the end of which he intoned, "Rest easy, brother. We have it from here." That was his solemn promise. That was his solemn promise as the chief. on behalf of the Fargo Police Department, on behalf of all peace officers, on behalf of all first responders, forever and always endures through tough times. Blessed be the peacekeepers. And with God as my witness, we have your backs. Fargo Police Officer Jake Ryan Wallin, we love you. Rest in the eternal peace for which you have paid the ultimate price. End of call. We have it from here.
Thank you, Drew. Thank you, Drew. When I was Attorney General, we dedicated the North Dakota Peace Officer Memorial. And for the first time, we were able to have a ceremony on a hot May day where we were reading the names of all the people going back to territorial time who had given their life in sacrifice to keeping the peace in our great state. And as we were reading the names, I realized how much space was left on that monument. And with a mother's heart, I looked and thought of all the people who in the future will make a sacrifice, who in the future will see their son or their daughter or their husband or their wife or their grandchild name on that monument. Your son's name will go on that monument. And every year at Peace Officer Memorial, we'll read his name. And we will remember. We will never forget. So Jeff and Amy, thank you so much for coming today. Thank you so much for being willing to share in this service in honor of your son and his sacrifice, and to accept the love and gratitude of an enormously grateful community for the sacrifice of your son. Please join me in welcoming Jeff Wallin to the stage.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you very much. On behalf of myself, my wife Amy, son Brady, and fiance Winter, thank you for having us today. As my wife and I sat down to think about what we might say today, we thought of a few words on how we got here. Like many teenagers getting ready to go into their senior year, Jake was not sure what he was going to do after he graduated. When one day he came to us and said he was going into the Army Reserve and we needed to sign for him as he was only 17. His mother and I said, "Is this really what you want to do?" As we understood the commitment of 6 years and the very real probability that he would get deployed. Jake persisted. That is what he wanted to do, and 2 weeks before his 18th birthday, we signed for him to join. After graduating, he went to basic and job training, and then came back and enrolled at Alexandria Tech for law enforcement. Shortly after that, he was deployed to Afghanistan. During the deployment, he volunteered for other locations as help was needed besides his main assignment. To this day, we still do not know every place he went and what he encountered. When he returned home, within several weeks, he already had a place with a brother in arms to once again set out on his own. During that time, he struggled with what he wanted to do, as that was near the time of multiple events involving law enforcement. He tried multiple security jobs, and then the paid recruitment opportunity came up with the Fargo Police Department. At that time, we asked again, is this really what you want to do? Just like the reserves, we were concerned with his safety, and once again, he insisted, this is what I want to do. He was accepted into the program and passed all his criteria to graduate. When it came time for badging, he was reluctant to have us and his fiancée come to it, as he was very protective of all of us. He decided to let us come, and I was given the honor of badging him. Even after the badging, he didn't want us to tell anybody what he did for a living, as he had that protective force kicking in again. Little did he know at the time that the event was a public event, and it was all over the Fargo Police website. On the way home, my wife and I commented to each other that after meeting everybody at the badging, he truly had made the right decision, and we were extremely happy that he chose the Fargo Police Department. Our son has been given the proper honors and laid to rest, so it's now time to concentrate on others and the future. Yesterday, we met with Officer Dotis and Haas in the hospital. As you might imagine, it was a very emotional experience. We also met with Officer Robinson, as well as many other individuals in the Fargo Police Department, too numerous to mention. Jake would have been extremely concerned about his fellows and brothers in blue. Officer Robinson would have been Jake's hero, and what he strived to be the rest of his police career, and without a doubt, he would have achieved it. All of these individuals, including the entire Fargo Police Department, as well as officers all around the country, are still hurting and need our prayers and support. As we go forward, We Are Fargo PD resonates loud and clear. But let's not let this slowly fade away and only be brought up again when something happens again. Let's make every day We Are Fargo PD. Take pride in your community every day. Work with your police. Support the police in every way possible and every day. As we started figuring out who to thank, we found that it was impossible to list everyone, as the outpouring of support and well wishes have been something well beyond anything we could have imagined. We would, however, like to specifically mention our thanks to the Fargo Police Department, the National Guard, the state of Minnesota and North Dakota, as well as all the law enforcement agencies across the U.S. and all they have done for us and all the support they have offered to us. I often joke that if I wanted a gallon of milk from Fargo, I would have one 3 hours later by a police escort. Most importantly, we wanted to thank you, the citizens of Fargo, for all your kind words of love and support. As we do not live here, we initially did not know the outreach from the community. We started looking at the Fargo PD websites, as well as other social sites, and it became very clear of your love and support for us. Looking through cards Sunday night, there were many cards for Fargo and surrounding area from people we did not know and did not know Jake conveying their condolences. Equally important to us is the love and support that Fargo community has shown to Officer Dotis and Haas and their families during the time of recovery, as well as the support for the entire Fargo Police Department. I would now like to read something written by my brother-in-law and Jake's uncle in memory of Jake. The overwhelming support that has been shown to our family at this time is astonishing. It's easy to forget the extent of compassion that exists in the world following such an inexplicable tragedy. It afterwards affords opportunity to move forward with possibly the most crucial thing we need, hope. Hope that Jake's sacrifice was not in vain. Hope that the ideals Jake stood for are truly appreciated by those he swore to protect. Nothing can make us more appreciative of the young man that Jake became. His service to his country and fellow man is well documented. He is recognized as an individual who stood between those he vowed to protect and those that wished them harm. We do not believe Jake would harbor any regrets. He was not in the wrong place at the wrong time. It was exactly where his heart and determination for his fellow man dictated that he should be there at that moment. He is a hero. If there's a message my wife and I can convey to everyone here, children, follow your dreams, and parents, support your children in their dreams, even though it may not align with yours. When Jake was young, somebody called him Jacob, and he replied back to them, "I am Jake, just Jake." To others, he was Officer Jake Wallin or Sergeant Wallin, but to us, he will always be just Jake. Thank you.
It is so clear from there how you grow a hero in America. You raise them. You raise them to be good people. You raise them to be hopeful people. But you also raise them to be generous people. And the generosity of this family today, helping as we try and help and mourn and heal their family, reaching out to this community to heal us, to heal our country, to heal our state, to heal our region. Generosity is not something that comes natural to human beings. It's taught. And thank you for your generosity today, Jeff and Amy. The Fargo Police Department is proud to host and to support its own training academy. And it's only fitting that we end with one of Jake's fellow officers, with Ian Christen, who is head of the training academy, who also speaks on behalf of all the men and women of the Fargo Police Department as he memorizes and commemorizes Jake.
Lieutenant Troy Hanig, Sergeant Travis Berger, Sergeant Brandon Kerr, Officer John Novacek, and Officer Rob Essler, along with myself, make up the Fargo Police Department's Training and Development Unit. Our primary roles include hiring, recruiting, and running the Fargo Police Academy. Throughout the course of the academy, students transition from citizens into Fargo police officers. On January 19th, 2023, we had the honor to welcome 10 new academy recruits to our agency. And Jake Wallin was one of the 10 who answered the call and committed to a life of service, duty, and honor. These qualities were evident in Jake even before officially becoming a member of our agency. The hiring process includes various interviews and a substantial background check. The final narrative for the background check is a full report of all of our findings on the applicant. These, as you would imagine, are often quite lengthy and can be varied in their outcome. Jake's report was not lengthy or varied. It was precise and consistent. Jake was described by his family, friends, and peers as driven, mature, personable, and protective, able to strike up a conversation with anyone, and compassionate. These qualities were evident throughout the hiring process and made us certain that we wanted Jake to be a part of the Fargo PD family. The challenges faced in the academy are not easy and difficult to achieve alone. It takes a team, people to lean on, study with, train with, and handcuff countless times. Every personality adds to the team and makes everyone around them better. And Jake most definitely accomplished this. He did not hesitate when asked the difficult or unknown question to seek the answer. And in times when he was wrong, he would learn, improve, and grow as an officer. He provided a professional calm to the class, and when asked to accomplish an objective, would work tirelessly to achieve it, all while helping his teammates every step of the way. Putting in extreme effort, Jake was the personification of the phrase, lead by example. But he also knew how to compete and not back down. We vividly remember moments when Jake and Officer Chance would have spirited smack talk back and forth during physical training challenges, with each exchange pushing the other to put in more effort, striving to beat the other. But when the competitive fires had calmed, Jake was right back to helping his recent adversary with whatever was needed to be accomplished. Because Jake understood that we are a team, seeking to accomplish the same goal, serving and protecting our community. Jake's actions exemplified this understanding every day, every shift, and every second. Throughout the academy, it was clear that Jake was going to be a central member of our agency throughout his career. He was prepared, professional, and focused. He understood the mission to serve the citizens of Fargo and protect those same citizens from the evils that wish to do them harm. And he accomplished that mission. And just as Jake was prepared, professional, and focused, we will be as well. When evil rears its head again, we will face it unwavering, just as Jake did. And after the thunder has crashed and the dust has settled, we will be there, still standing. Then we will heal, as individuals, as a department, and as a city, because that is us. That is Fargo. Jake, we miss you, and we will never forget you. And to echo Attorney General Wrigley, we got it from here. Thank you. It is now my honor to introduce the next video for our celebration of life. Jake Wallin was a proud member of the Fargo Police Academy's Class 4, and these classmates developed very close friendships during their time in the academy. In this video, you will hear directly from Jake's classmates about their favorite memories of Jake and how they will incorporate lessons learned from him into their daily work at the Fargo Police Department.
What defined Jake as a person was his motivation, his selflessness. He was a 23-year-old man who spent all of his adult life in service of others, and you could see that in him every single day.
Jake had that charisma that was just easy to work with. Him and I were on a call a couple weeks ago, and he was just cool as a cucumber the whole time. It was great. I felt at ease. I knew he knew what he was doing, and he was just really relaxing knowing he was right there.
When we all went through getting tased together, he was definitely second-guessing going through that, and by the end of the day, he went forward in doing it. And I think at the end of that, it kind of brought us all closer together, and he was singing Katy Perry at the end of it, so that kind of made us all laugh a little bit.
It was great just seeing how hard he would go when we were working together in that training and everything. And he always, like, every time you were done, he would jump right up, big smile, ready to go again. He just looked like he loved what he was doing. And that was one of those things that, like, when I think about Jake, that's one of the things I really remember fondly about him, was just how happy he was to be here.
I know he was going to be a great officer, and I think a lot of his PTOs and all of us in the academy, we all knew that Jake was going to be a good one. And I think it's one of those things where I'm going to continue to try to be my best, and I'm going to be a good officer just like Jake was.
Every time I saw Jake in the locker room, he'd always take the time to stop and wait for me to get dressed and stick it out with me. Really, I just want to celebrate Jake's life, as every day I put on the uniform and the badge, I'll think about him. Being from Class 4, building a friendship with him, and working out and putting ourselves through those challenges. I just really know that for starting now, probably got 25 years for a good retirement. And every day I put this uniform on, I know I'll think about Jake and just appreciate the sacrifice he made for all of us in this community.
Be grateful for every day. He was always very grateful for coming into work. His fun facts were always great. He was always very happy to do it. And I'm grateful that it sucks. I hate that he had to make the sacrifice, but he saved my life that day. And I'll always be grateful that he went down fighting. He went down the man that we know him as, and every day is a gift because of that for me now.
Officer Zach Robinson was Jake Wallin's training officer on July 14, 2023. When you have a trainee officer working with you, you begin to develop a bond that is more than a colleague. It is of mentorship and friendship. Today we will hear directly from Officer Zach Robinson on the type of student Jake was, what he will most remember, and a very powerful message to the Wallin family. Ladies and gentlemen, I'm proud to introduce to you FPD Officer Zach Robinson.
Jake was doing very well in the PTO program. He was eager to learn, was open to suggestions in his training. He was doing a great job overall. Before all this happened, he asked me what he could do better, and I remember telling him, you're doing fine, keep doing what you're doing and you're gonna pass. Everything I asked him to do, he did it. He was open to learning new ways of doing different tasks. He was very receptive to being proficient in what he was doing. And no complaints, he was doing very well in the PTO program. I was proud of him for the way he responded. After finding out how he was able to react, and it was just like a split second away from trying to neutralize the threat, but just tell him good job. Thank you for raising such a good son. Just thank you for everybody coming out, supporting us, driving out to the funeral in Pequot Lakes. I was not expecting every little small town to be lined with people, and it was just very, humbling to see all the support from everybody, and just everybody, like people that I don't even know, just checking in on me, coworkers, the department, everybody checking in on each other, just to make sure that we all get through this together.
Today we join together to celebrate the life of Jake Wallin, a son, first and foremost, a fiance, a brother, a grandson, a friend. But today we also celebrate him as a hero who gave his life for the safety of the community of Fargo, who gave his life for the officers he served with. No greater gift can one give mankind than to lay down their lives for others. His life was too short. He will be missed. He will be missed every day, as you heard these officers in the video say. But he will never, ever be forgotten. His name will live on. He will be revered for decades to come for the hero that he is. And you will be honored, his family, for the sacrifice you have given to our community, to our state, to our region, and to this country. God bless Jake Wallin. God bless his family. We ask the pastor to come up and give a final prayer, and then I'll give some instructions before we exit.
At the conclusion of my prayer today, I'm going to invite you to join with me as we will pray the Lord's Prayer corporately, and just for the sake of unity, we will use the word trespass in our prayer. Let's bow our hearts in prayer. Almighty God, Creator, Sustainer, and Sovereign Lord, I pray for your loving kindness and tender mercy to be with the family and all those impacted by the life and death of Officer Jake Wallin. In this new season, let them experience the comfort and presence of you, and may they find a deeper faith in you, who did not spare his own son, but freely gave him up for us all, so that we might become recipients of your great gift of salvation. In those moments when they find themselves looking toward the heavens, wondering where he is and what he is doing, draw near. And when the tears of grief flow and the anger or frustration emerges, be their peace, you who are near to the brokenhearted and those who are crushed in spirit. Lord, this afternoon I am reminded of the words from the great hymn, Amazing Grace, in which the writer penned, "And when this flesh and heart shall fail, and mortal life shall cease, I shall possess within the veil a life of joy and peace." May all of us gathered here today be assured that eternity with you is a gift, and then when we pass through the veil of death, we have eternal hope through Jesus Christ our Lord, who taught us to pray. Our Father, who art in heaven, hallowed be thy name. Thy kingdom come, thy will be done, on earth as it is in heaven. Give us this day our daily bread, and forgive us our trespasses, as we forgive those who trespass against us. And lead us not into temptation, but deliver us from evil. For thine is the kingdom, and the power, and the glory, forever and ever. Amen. And now may the Lord bless you and keep you. The Lord make his face to shine upon you and be gracious to you. The Lord lift up his countenance upon you and grant you peace. In the name of the Father, the Son, and the Holy Spirit. Amen.
Again, thank you all for coming. Thank you all for your presence today. It means so much to the officers on the floor, to the family, and to all the people who serve our country. We ask that you please stay seated until the members of the main floor have exited this room. After that, you can leave, but I want to give you an assignment. Say thank you Gratitude for your safety. Say a prayer of gratitude for your safety. It is done with the help, the assistance, and yes, the risk of the people sitting in front of you. Thank you so much. Have a wonderful rest of your day.
for